Hey, Jacob.
Hey, Don.
How'd you get that shot?
Let me show you.
So, every once in a while, we want to do an episode where we just like pick a favorite photo of ours and then just talk about how we got that photo. So we're going to start with one today. So anyone who's listening on audio only, we'll do our best to describe the photo and then talk through the process. But you can always find photos that are referenced in episodes on our Instagram.
Sure can.
Which is the one with two photographers. Everything all spelled out, just the way you think it should be.
Just the longest name. It's about this long. I know you can't see it on audio, but this is if you've written this much, you're like, okay, that's the right one.
Yes. So you can always see those pictures there, so you can kind of follow along if you'd like to.
Let's see what you got. What you got?
I'm super excited. So today I wanted to share this photo from from my best friend's maternity session. So I've mentioned before that Jacob is my emotional support assist. This is probably the most nervous I've been on a job.
Yeah, easily.
Like ever. Because I wanted it to be so special for them. They have been struggling with getting pregnant for like over a decade. Yeah. And so they were like towards, I think she was around 7 months, 7.5 months maybe. And I love them so much. And I just wanted this to be like perfect. Like I'm auntie to their baby. So like this had to be perfect.
I'm also friends with them, but not like Don level friends.
I mean, I've known them for 22 years.
And I've known them for 10 years.
Yeah.
So you win.
Yeah. But so anyways, so the shot for anyone who's just listening, it is a silhouette of the two of them. So Courtney, the mom, and then Brad is the dad. He is a professional musician. Oh, and to add to the pressure, Courtney is an amazing photographer.
She is.
Like Courtney and Jacob are probably the two photographers who've taught me the most about how to be a photographer in my career. And so, no stress. And of course, they're like, we trust you. Yeah. Whatever you want. So it's a silhouette of the two of them. Courtney's looking away. Brad's looking at Courtney. And Brad has his guitar. Now, to set the scene for this, we started late.
Yep.
We had 2 different locations. This was the second location.
With costume changes, too.
With multiple outfit changes, during which one of the outfit changes...
Got wet? What happened?
Yeah. Courtney was changing, and she set her, like, new outfit in the sink, like on the edge of the sink.
I wasn't in there for that, so tell them. No. I didn't know.
Forgetting that it was like an automatic sink. So something like went under the sensor and her jeans were like just soaked. So that delayed us a little further. But anyways.
It looked like her water broke. Like legitimately, I was like, uh-oh. Oh, no, it was the fountain. Okay.
So, throughout the whole session, we'd been doing things with and without Brad's guitar. And so we were at the very end of the session, we had moved to our second location, and we were at the end of the session because the sun was down.
Correct.
It was that moment where there's like just the tiniest bit of color left in the sky, but like the sun was down. And so I told Brad, you know what, we're good with the guitar. You can put it away.
Get away.
And I told Jacob, don't worry about it. I'm just going to do a quick silhouette with what's left of the sun. And then that's it. And so I had Brad and Courtney facing each other. And then I was just getting their silhouette. I was low on the ground. I mean, I was like full body laying on my stomach on the ground. And, it's just, you just see like the lake behind them and then the gradation of the sunlight. There's like the oranges and then yellows and then up to the deep blue at the top of the frame. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, this is not enough. And so I changed their pose where Courtney was turned away from Brad, and then his body was straight to me, but his face was turned to her. So she's turned to the side so you can see her bump, her little baby bump. Yep. And then I'm looking at it and I'm like, hey, Brad, can you go get the guitar that I just told you to put away? Because I think we need it. And so he's holding the guitar, like the top of the guitar. I don't know guitar terms.
The neck.
The neck of the guitar. Yeah. And then the guitar is like resting on the ground. Yeah. So it's the silhouette of the guitar.
You ever seen a Hard Rock Hotel?
Yes. That's exactly what it
That's what the guitar looks like.
And so I'm taking this picture and I'm like, it's just not there yet. Hey, Jacob, can you go get that light I already told you to put away? So I didn't want a straight up backlight to illuminate them. I just wanted like the very edges of them illuminated to make them pop a little bit off the sky.
Yeah.
And so
That's perfect.
Jacob got a gel for me. So we had probably a quarter CTO or half CTO on this light. It was a 200,
Yep.
Godox 80-200, and just had it essentially profiled to them, 90-degree angle.
It took a little bit because Brad is obviously taller than her, and since I was
Yes.
the only room we had was from Brad's side, I do remember it taking a couple of moments to like get it just right to get that like on her hair,
Right.
And her
I think
her
we even had to
form.
scoot them, like separate them so they weren't on the same plane.
Yeah.
So that they could both catch like the rim of it. And we needed the light on the side of Brad too to illuminate the guitar because we didn't want the guitar in her shadow. So yeah, if you knew the couple, you would know that this is like yes, we did all the traditional sweet maternity photos, and they love those too. But like to me, this is just the epitome. They're like a little punk rock, a little like non-traditional,
it's dramatic.
artists.
It's dramatic.
Mm-hmm.
It has both of them in it, like what they are. Like
I love it.
it's real good.
I'm super proud of it. So thank you for being my emotional support assist.
That's what I do. I'll take all the credit for the photo too.
Yeah. Do you also want to pay the dry cleaning bill for all my clothes that I was laying in the mud with?
That's part of it. You should have already charged them for that. It's a great photo though. All the elements we had been doing silhouettes and they're still good, but then adding all these little extra touches at the very end. And that's what happens too, is like you'll find yourself in the zone where like I'm gonna do a silhouette with this sunset, and it's great. And then if like you get the shot, if you can just keep adding little things, you'd be surprised where it's gonna take you.
Yeah.
Instead of just going, oh, I got it.
Yeah. Yeah. And this was sometimes I have these moments where I'm like, oh, I think they're done. Like I think they're over this already. I don't want to keep pushing and making changes, but like I knew that this was going to pay off. Although we were also like running against daylight.
Yeah, literally.
Or I mean, there was no daylight, but we were running against like any light. So we had to be pretty fast about it.
And the guy doing some sort of ninja yoga. Remember that guy? He was like in the gazebo, like doing like, yes. But then like doing yoga poses.
And normally we just did an episode talking about the role of assists and second shooters. We should have talked about how they should keep track of all the gear. But at this point, like I think things had...
Oh, we had stuff everywhere.
It was all over the place because we were going so fast to beat the sunset. And then it got so dark we couldn't see anything. We were like using our cell phone flashlights to like try to find all the pieces of our gear.
I think too, even when a couple, when a couple is done, I pride myself on knowing when it's done. But if it's something that like you show being so excited about, it's infectious and they get excited, especially then you're adding in like something that means a lot to them, the guitar. Like it became more like, yeah, they were done. But then when you started being like, just do this, and they could see, help that she was a photographer, but they could kind of see what was going. They were like, yeah. And then it just kind of spiraled. And this was in 5 minutes. This is not a long time.
No, it was not a long
even
time.
5 minutes, probably like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
But it just kind of spiraled. And then that's what became of it.
Yeah.
And that's photography.
It was so fun. I'm super proud of it. So what about you, Jacob?
All right,
what are you going to show off for us today?
I have a photo I did back when I worked for Disney. I'll say it. I'm not afraid. This couple was super into Star Wars, and they had a couple lightsabers, and we've both done lightsaber photos before. Done them outside in the sun. Okay. You know, never has the same ones. They light up. These ones lit up. So I was like, okay, I kind of need to take them somewhere dark. Where can I go? And this happened to be at Hollywood Studios, and at the time, the Star Tours. So I took them inside the queue, which we were allowed to go in. And as I was looking for a space to do this, because really it was about the lightsaber photo. That's what I wanted. So I found this spot, if you've been in the queue, where they have these 2 LED light panels on the left and right side. They go up and over you, and they constantly change colors. So it's like orange, blue, purple, and it kind of like rotates.
Yeah, it makes it look like the light is is running around the wall.
But they go at the same time, which is helpful too. It's like they go up and they meet. So I kind of saw this, and I just stopped for a second, and I said, "Hold on." So I kind of had them sit there for a couple of seconds because I wanted to see what the light looked like, because I knew I couldn't really overlight them too much because I needed to get the lightsabers. I wanted all these colors. So I watched it go up and down on them a couple times. I'm like, okay, this is definitely it. We have enough light. So kind of the same thing with you, though. If you look, I have him placed a little forward to the camera and her a little back. So the light from the right side hits his face.
The LED lights from the wall.
Yep. Mm-hmm. So, and then what I did is I took a single, I think it's just a speed light, honestly, because I wanted something so small on a tiny stand, and I put it directly, and I had them hold the lightsabers together, and I put it directly behind that. So when it fired, it gave me that kind of little starburst in between the lightsabers as they were hitting. Mm-hmm. So then I had to climb, because they're in between, they're in a queue. So one's in the fast pass line, I'm dating myself, lightning lane, and one is in the standby line. And I had to sit on the railing very uncomfortably, I'm not that tall, and hold that while they then brought the lightsabers together in a perfect X. And then I'm dragging my shutter pretty long, more than I would like to, especially when I'm balancing on a stand and trying to get the light, that backlight to hit the lightsabers perfectly. And that took a long time. And that took my assistant a lot. So my assistant is actually behind. You see the cue goes to the straight and to the left behind there. That's where the assist is. Because every shot I'm like, hey, move it up a slightly bit. But then on top of it, the couple is moving. Because you know how hard it is to hold something constantly? So they're constantly moving. So I'm not getting that perfect, I'm seeing just light. Like I'm just seeing a speed light. I wanted that. So finally, I mean, it probably was a good 5 minutes of constant shooting till I finally hit this one. And I was like, got it. This photo was on Disney Weddings. That's why we can show it here. It went pretty viral, especially for like May the 5th for a while.
Oh, yeah.
I know it got posted for May the 5th. And
it's so cool. What I love too is like,
there's no other light besides the one.
They're being lit by the LED panel. So you've got the mixture of like purple, bluish, and orange lighting the backs of them and then lighting each other's faces. But then you also have the colors from their lightsabers filling in other light on them. Yeah. It looks so cool. So other than removing the light stand in post-production, did you have to do anything else?
No. I mean, I of course, little enhance of the colors and stuff, but I didn't change any of the colors. It took a while because, again, you see how those yellows, the oranges and yellows, and then the blues, those are moving nonstop. So I constantly had photos where, like, it was too much blue on her back. It was too much. So, like I said, I'm going to be honest with you, I probably took about 50 to 60 photos of this, and one came out exactly. But most of it was, honestly, once we got the light right and they held it, I was good. It was then me just trying to get the photo. I liked color-wise this. Yeah. And then, like I said, I turned out I liked the blue low, the orange high. But no, besides taking out the speed light, the light behind them, that's exactly what came out of camera. The lens flares are directly from the light. There was no enhanced there. Again, just probably the normal.
Did you have to like burn on the lightsabers at all to bring their color up, or was that pretty much how it came out?
I mean, they're a little hot because of the light behind them. So I'm sure I burned it a little bit, but I don't remember doing I know I didn't have to Photoshop them in. I know that I got enough light when I got it that I was like, we're good. Yeah.
It's always so hard when you've got like light up things and then you need to use flash.
Correct. Because normally you just blow them out and you just get white sticks.
You just get white, yeah. It's definitely one of the more challenging things to work with. But yeah, using all continuous lights definitely helps solve the problem.
And then even his pose. So at first I had them do kind of the traditional what she's doing where, when you hold a lightsaber with two hands and doing this. And I didn't realize at one point, because of course there's 1,000 things going through your head. You're looking at this damn speed light to make sure it's firing right. You're looking at there. And he had put his hand down on the rail just to probably, take a break because it was 200 minutes in there. And I actually love it more. I don't know why. I just love how he's just kind of gripping it. I love his reaction. I don't know. So,
you know what also is hard? It's getting couples to keep a straight face.
Yes. Especially with this idiot. Oh, yeah, looking at each other.
Well, and you were probably grudging and making ridiculous comments.
And I was sitting all up on that rail in my business. Nothing was comfortable. I was trying not to die.
Yeah. So it's pretty impressive that their facial expressions are so perfect for that image too.
And when I first got there, my first thought was okay, maybe I'll put a backlight shining up because it's kind of dark in the back. But in the end, I'm glad I just stuck with the natural because I could have overshot this easily. Because in my head, I'm like, okay, I'm going to need this. I'm going to need this. I need to balance this. And then in the end, I was just try this and we'll build from there as opposed to going all in and then taking stuff away.
Right.
Which is sometimes what I do.
Right.
And sometimes it's better just start with simple. And then if you need it, you can build it. And once I saw it and I had nailed that, I was like, no, the background doesn't need to be lit. It actually needs to be darker like it is to show off all the little yummies.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah, let them stay the focus. Pretty cool.
Yeah. There's another funny story too, that when we walked in, a little behind the scenes, we walked in, obviously this is before park opening. We walk in, and if you've been in Star Tours, you know how C-3PO is up on that ledge right there? He, so that computer monitor he stands at is actually a door. That's how the maintenance guy, it actually opens. So we walk in because I see this white light and the door is open, and C-3PO is hunched over, and there's a maintenance dude like working on him. But the way it looked, like the maintenance guy was behind C-3PO. And he's just like, and I was like, I just went, sir. He was like, hey, it's not what it looks like. I think he had his hand on like C-3PO's hips. And I'm like, what? I don't, But no, he was strapped in because you're on a ledge. He was harnessed in, and he was doing all kinds of cool animatronic. And I got distracted because I was like, can I go up there and like just look at that? No,
I gotta focus.
Gotta shoot.
Focus.
So yeah, that's one of my, well, it's definitely one of my favorites.
Yeah. It's a really cool one, especially to hear like how you got to the end result.
And this was all happening too. Not to say that I'm not amazing, but this was happening in real time. Like me trying to figure. I knew I had wanted to do this shot. It was something they wanted, but in real time, because of course I could have done the photo outside in front of the walker. Yeah, and it would have been fine.
We've done that a dozen times.
It would have been fine. I could have done it in the forest. It would have been fine. There's but I was trying to be like, what can I do? What can I elevate this? Because this wasn't just something like, something like, oh, we just want a photo and move on.
Right.
This was a big thing for them.
Right.
So, I'm literally in real time crunching numbers and crunching. Meanwhile, I'm sure I'm talking to them because I black out. I'm sure I'm talking to them. but I'm seriously just like thinking.
We always have this like separate stream of consciousness while we're talking or while we're thinking about our shot.
And I just went on a whim and went for it, and there it goes.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, one other thing I was going to say about that for both of us, like I did have to bring up my backdrop or the background a little bit because, like I said, we were running out of daylight. But both of us rarely use Photoshop to create an image.
Yeah.
Like you very easily could have done that shot and then just like Photoshopped in a starburst right where the lightsabers met. But that's just...
Where's the fun in that?
It's just not what we do.
Where is the fun in that?
Not what we do.
Yeah. Good point. I like your photo though.
I like your photo.
I was there. I wish you were there for mine.
I know. I was trying to remember if I had been, but I don't.
You would have remembered.
Would I have?
Because you would have been like, will you stop with the speed lights?
Actually, no. I probably would have remembered.
Move it up, move it down, move it up.
I would have remembered laughing at you probably about to fall off the railing.
Yeah.
I probably would
like,
have
I can't even
that.
describe, like, think of just like a...
straddling
like
a railing.
Egg on a railing trying to like...
Humpty Dumpty.
Yeah.
If Humpty Dumpty hadn't fallen
But still
off
at
the
like
wall.
40th of a second when I shouldn't have been.
Suck in.
Yeah. Oh, we didn't get it. One more. If I was 6 feet tall, I would have been fine.
Yeah.
I would have just had feet on the floor.
Short photographer problems. I'm right there with you.
I hate you guys. All right. Well, that's what we shot before. But what did you shoot this week?
Yeah, so this week, I had something really fun that was out of the norm. So I think it was State Farm came to Universal to do it was like a prize trip for their top sellers, basically, is what I understood it to be. So they had time where they were doing like award ceremonies in a convention space or whatever, but they also had nights where they came into Universal. So they had a partial buyout at City Walk. So the top level of City Walk was reserved just for them for like 4 or 5 hours one night. And they got to go in and out of all the different restaurants and bars, and they had tons and tons of food, and characters were there, and stilt walkers, and all sorts of entertainment. There's face painting, like all sorts of stuff. So there's a photography company out of Texas that always does this event for State Farm, always photographs it for them. But this year they were adding on like a station just for family photos, and they didn't have enough manpower able to travel to do it. So they contracted someone local to do it. So I was set up in like the outdoor courtyard space at one of the restaurants at City Walk in front of like a nice fountain with like cool uplighting and everything. And yeah, I just stood there for like 4 hours and waited for whoever wanted a family picture to come in. Of course, it started to rain at one point and we all had to hide and then had to come back out in the rain. But yeah, it was fun. You know, people were just in a good mood. They just wanted a fun picture with their family.
We are pretty lucky being in Central Florida with the theme parks because we get to do a lot of corporate events at the theme parks.
Yes.
Buyouts and stuff. And, you know, when you shoot a corporate event in like a convention room where they're just sitting there drinking a beer and talking to each other at a high top.
Yeah.
That's all you, look at me, or trying to get them. Obviously, when we very lucky, we get to do these theme park ones where there are musicians and dancers and characters. So they're to shoot there. I know you were just shooting the family portraits, but you've shot them too. Like it's so much easier. It's fish in a barrel because there's so much fun stuff happening. People are like, yeah, photo.
Exactly.
So
yeah, and I even had some families who like came to me early and then they went and got face painting and then like, can we come back and get another picture with the kids with their Spider-Man face painting? And yeah.
And sometimes when they do them in the actual parks, you know, they get the rides. And so like you can get photos of them getting off rides. And of course, you know, you want good candids, get people coming off a roller coaster like, ah. So it's it's almost not fair that we have these
I know
abilities, but hey, it is what it is, dog.
I mean, maybe one day I'll tell you about the time that a helicopter was landed inside Hollywood Studios for a corporate buyout.
All right. If you want to get stories, I got stories, dog.
That was probably the craziest corporate buyout was for Bell Helicopter. And they brought a helicopter.
I would hope so.
Into Hollywood Studios. That was my job. Just take pictures of people with the helicopter.
Save it for the next one.
Okay, sorry.
What
did you do?
Well, this week I've had a bride call or a bride meeting, is depending on how you want to say it, with a couple that we're shooting in November. So, you know, basically we're this close now. We're going to go over final timelines. Any other kind of last minute. They are out of town coming in. So they are getting, they just came in to meet with their venue. So there's, you know, it's harder because they don't know everything as quickly. But so we're going to go over that. But there's not too much, but it's more like, hey, I'm still here.
Right.
Even though you booked a year ago, I'm still here for a talk. Let's still, if anything's changed, you know, I go over the family, make sure everything's still good there. Just like I said, just to keep up we're still talking, we're still good. We'll go over the final timeline and then be ready for their wedding. I
mean, that's another advantage we have of being in Central Florida is the location for this wedding is pretty freaking cool.
It is. It's going to be at Kennedy Space Center in NASA.
So I'm so excited.
Yeah. So literally their like reception is like under the space shuttle that's built into the like you know, they have a space shuttle exhibit inside a building that they build a building around a space shuttle. And yeah, that's like yeah. You know, and then they have the rockets right there.
No big deal, just first dance under space shuttle. No big deal.
We have a fellow photographer that now works at NASA. So I reached out to him. I was like, hey, man, if there's any cool places you can take us, let me know.
Yeah.
He's like, I'll see what I can do. Probably nothing, but
hey, worth an ask.
But it was always funny, too, because they were like, they asked me when they went down, they were like, oh, do you need anything you need to speak? Like, ask any questions for the venue? And I was like, no. I was like, you don't have to be the middleman. Like, if I have any questions, I'll reach out to them specifically. I didn't say it like that, of course. But I was like, you know, I'll reach out to them. They can reach out to me. Obviously, you can too. But don't worry about, you don't need to be a middleman for us. Like, yeah. And that's it. And then I've been working on, so every year my family we do these family holiday portraits, but because I'm silly, they're silly. They're not as, so you can look at my Instagram and I'll post some other ones here, but we're working on a Halloween one. This one's a little more in depth, so I'm trying to shoot it ahead of time because there actually will be some Photoshop involved in this one. If it works, I can't guarantee that it's going to work that I want, so I may scrap it and just do something else. But that's what we started shooting because I actually had, a few days off. So we started that process of shooting the Halloween family portrait that we're going to do.
It's always fun to see what he comes up with.
Christmas, Halloween, we've done Easter, like Labor Day, like and they're always silly and very on brand. Not traditional.
Yeah, that's a good term. Yeah. Good term. So we've, recently started this podcast. We're only 6 episodes in. What? You didn't know I was recording?
It feels like one day. I thought this was a test. Oh, my God.
So I thought we could talk about what we like to listen to when we listen to a podcast.
Other podcasts.
Yeah.
Should I start?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I have a whole bunch of stuff.
Okay. I have 2 that I'm going to share.
Okay. Well, I have I think I had first one, and I've said this before, but I'm very into board games, modern hobby games. So there's a couple of podcasts I listen to / YouTube videos. I don't know if you call them. They could be podcasts, but big one is the Dice Tower. It's a network of reviewers, and they have they review all the games. They have a podcast about games, new games, Kickstarter games. They have a convention, which is where I've been. So that's one that I definitely listen to. So it's a lot about board games. No one's interested.
You never know.
It's true.
Someone might care about board games.
Nobody cares about board games. No, that's not true. They want to play them, but nobody wants to, I research them.
Listen to 10 different people review it.
Well, the board games are very expensive that I purchase. Yeah. Some of them, most of them being in the $60 to $100 range. So what? Most. I said most. Average. Have I spent more? Yes. Have I spent less? Yes. Average.
We need to teach Jake what average means.
They're all $40. So I do spend a lot of time researching them because you can't just go buy this.
Yeah.
And then because they have no resale value. Once you bought it, you sell them for pennies at like a convention. So I make sure that they're something that I want to play. Because when I started out in the board game hobby, I bought everything. And I made a mistake. I almost lost my wife to not wanting to play because I threw these games that we should have never been playing starting. We're like, well, this is rated number 1. Okay. And it was like a 3-hour war game.
Right. Yeah, we have a rule. It has to be a 2-player game. Yeah. We can't count on other people being able to come play with us and then just have it sit on a shelf forever. So we only buy 2-player games.
I have 157 board games.
We have like 30.
That you know of. So that's one of the things I listen to is board game podcasts.
So I am equally as nerdy, but just in a slightly different way. So one of our favorite podcasts to listen to is called Good Job Brain. And they started this 12 years ago. And it is so crazy to me that these people are still doing this as like a little side hobby 12 years later. But it was started by 4 friends out of San Francisco who used to do pub trivia together. And then they decided to basically do pub trivia within themselves, but turn a microphone on.
Okay.
And so they have different like quiz segments. So it's our favorite thing to listen to when we're driving. Like we had to go out to a job in Winter Springs, which is like 45 minutes from here. So we put on an episode of Good Job Brain. But they have a giant bag of random Trivial Pursuit cards from like all different editions of Trivial Pursuit.
Okay.
So each episode starts with pulling 1 or 2 Trivial Pursuit cards, and then they pick a theme. So everyone's quizzes to each other have to do with the theme for that episode. And then every 5 episodes, they do an all quiz show where there isn't a theme. It's just quiz. And they come up with, they're so smart. And they come up with the best quizzes. One of my favorites is Brad Pitt or lasers. And is this thing older than Brad Pitt or lasers? Kind of like Betty White or white bread.
Yeah.
Or like sliced bread. But yeah, so they come up with like really fun, and just their stories are crazy. And they're also, one of them's a big Disney person. So she loves like getting it. Any reason to talk about Disney, she'll throw it in there. She does all the Disney marathons and stuff. So
it's good because we've been holding back. So
yeah. So super nerdy. I don't really know anyone else who listens to them.
I've never heard of it.
But when they first started in 2012, their podcast went crazy because their podcast art was just orange with like a mustache and said Good Job Brain. And so it immediately was in Apple Podcasts, like on the generic homepage. And I think it was in a few Apple Podcast ads just because it was like such an iconic looking cover art. But yeah, really fun.
Can we copy that?
Super
or is it
nerdy.
too late?
just instead of a mustache, like just like
I say leave it.
I mean,
just a mustache on you. Glasses and a mustache.
So yeah, that's one of our favorites to listen to. All right. Also, following up with another episode where we talked about favorite TV shows, and like my early 2000s basicness
Twilight.
showed.
Gilmore Girls.
I like true crime podcasts.
You and every.
But no, okay, but not just universally. There's one called Up and Vanished, where he was researching the death of like a former beauty queen, like beauty pageant queen.
And he killed her.
No, but it was a cold case. And he was just like going back to the town and interviewing people. It was in a like small town in Georgia. And he was like going back and talking to people and interviewing people like just to get more of the story for his podcast. And they ended up solving the murder while his podcast was going on.
Just like that?
So crazy.
Have you ever listened to Only Murders in the Building podcast?
No. I want to start watching that show.
It's not a real podcast. It's just a show. But they pretend to be in a podcast. It's actually a very good show.
Yeah.
Not to get off topic, but I love being off topic. But so they are recording the podcast as the episode happens, like because they're trying to find the crime. But like one of my favorite things is they always show the title on their like podcast, like the Apple podcast screen, and after like the intro and then the title screen, if they're like 3 minutes and 46 seconds in, when they start with the title, it shows 3 minutes and 46 seconds. It's such a dumb little thing, but I'm like, I see you. I like it. I also listen to my one TV show podcast. I listen to The Scrubs, Zach Braff and Donald Faison, where they go through the entire season or show of Scrubs. Just because, again, one of my favorite shows of all time. I love those two together. So I was listening to that because they started during the pandemic.
Oh, okay.
And so when we had a lot of time, I was able to watch a lot of it.
Yeah.
So that's probably the two that I watch most. But of course, there are, and I'm going to lump now into kind of like YouTube videos too / podcast, but there's plenty of photography ones that I watch.
Yes.
Like I said, don't know if they're considered podcasts, but they're still information tools. I still listen to them in the car, even though they're videos.
Yes. I do the same thing.
So a lot of photography, a little bit of Lego. A little bit of Lego. I used to be really big into Lego. And a little bit of Disney too, since, cast members back in the day. Some of us still are. Some of us aren't, maybe.
Some of us.
Who knows?
Just, toss the dice.
Yep. And so I love the parks. Mainly, for me, it's the parks. I've always been a big parks guy. The rest of the stuff, the movies, whatever. I like them, but I'm a park guy. So I still listen to a lot of park-related information. Yeah.
I do a lot of YouTube videos, too, that are like, some are also video podcasts, and others, I just listen to them like their podcasts.
That's the difference, right? Like,
right.
I watch a lot of I also have some comedians that I watch that do podcasts, but I'm just watching the video, but it is a podcast. So
right.
I don't know I don't know.
I have I probably shouldn't say this, but a love-hate relationship with the podcast app.
Yeah.
Because I don't listen to podcasts the way the app wants you to listen to them. Like, I'll go weeks and weeks without actually listening to one in the app. And then I want to go back on a particular show to the last episode I listened to and then listen straight through. And it'll, like, jump me around.
That's Florida, guys.
It'll, like, jump me around to a different show that I'm subscribed to. Yeah. Or it'll download, like, 75 episodes to my phone.
Why do I have 75 gigs
because I'm behind.
Podcasts on my... you have no more space on your phone. Well, it's because there's 128 Office Ladies podcasts.
Do you remember the podcast Serial? It was another, like, kind of true crime solving. It was about...
That's my wife.
Anyways, Cecily Strong did a parody of it on SNL, but it was like Christmas themed, and instead it was like, I think the crime was like involving Santa and an elf, and they were trying to solve like who broke into the house or whatever. Oh my gosh, you need to go back and listen to it because it is so freaking like I have to do a lot funny. Of work, no,
I do like Cecily Strong though.
She's so good, and she like you just need to listen to like 15 seconds of the podcast episode to like understand the voice and the like intonation of the narrator.
All right.
And then watch Cecily Strong, and it's freaking hilarious. It's one of my favorites.
Guess what I'm not going to do? You're
not going to do any of that. Who am I kidding?
I'm just being honest.
You don't care about my interests?
Ma'am. I support your fledgling board game habit.
Yes.
And your knockoff Lego.
Hey.
And your... Yeah, that's about it.
It was a gift.
It was a gift.
It was a gift.
Any other podcasts? Any other content you...
Yeah, I mean, I listened to a few photography ones. And I, for a while, was listening to a lot of marketing ones to, like, improve on the business side. But I hit a point where when we started freelancing for weddings, that particular company we work for, we have to drive sometimes, like 2 to 3 hours to get to our weddings.
Yep.
And sometimes the prospect of working a 10-hour wedding and then driving 3 hours on either end of that, I couldn't force myself to consume something that was good for me
Correct.
in all of that time.
You wouldn't even got all of it. You would have
No.
been so
No.
stewing in your own.
No. So I switched to audiobooks. So I listen to a lot of audiobooks that do not require any brain power whatsoever.
You know, I've never listened to an audiobook.
What?
Ever.
Seriously? Jacob,
I mean, I read. I like reading
go to
books.
the library.
It's not that I don't want to. It's just that I like reading books. And then if I'm in the car, I'm listening to usually some dumb board game podcast about games that I already know I'm going to buy.
Just closing the loop.
Yeah. I am who I am. I'm not
All right.
I'm not anti-audiobook.
Yeah.
I've never had I can't start and stop like that because I need to stop. If I'm reading a book, I need to stop at like a very specific
Oh.
like I can't halfway through a chapter or something.
Oh, yeah. No, I don't care.
No.
I could be halfway through a sentence and I'll just stop.
And I read very fast. I'm actually a very fast reader, so like I feel like the audiobook I'd be like, "Come on. Come on."
Oh, no, sir. You listen to the audiobook on a different speed. You don't listen to it at normal speed. I would say the slowest I listen to an audiobook is at 1.75 speed.
Please don't
because-
listen to Dawn at 1.75 speed.
No, don't
For
do
those
that.
listening, she should be at like half speed.
That is a
So-
true story.
so
But
me.
no, narrators are way too slow. Sometimes I'll even like go 3x
All right.
to listen.
I mean, I like the idea of some of like the people that were like involved or like a celebrity that reads it that was like in it or something. Like I kind of like that. The
Yeah.
idea of it, it's just never. I just have a regular book. I just read it.
Yeah. Okay. Ebook or physical book?
So I was pro book forever, and then I got a Kindle. I don't know, about 5 years ago, and then I was full ebook because I love the idea. And now I'm kind of gone back to regular book again, but I don't think I'm like I'd go back. Like you know what I mean? There's something about books in the hand that's hard to like flipping the pages. I know it's kind of an old thing. It's kind of nice, but so is ebook. So I feel like it's like book at home, Kindle in the streets. Book in the sheets, Kindle in the streets. Something like that. Copyright.
Freaking
Jacob.
weirdo. Well, spoiler alert. These are all mine, and this is like 20% of my actual books.
I'm
the
gonna-
rest are like
We
on
had
the
to-
floor
yeah, I had to
over
take-
there.
I had to take them all off because it was way too much.
Okay, but to be fair, I'm also a book reviewer, so like I need to have books because I have to read them.
Do you have a podcast?
I don't, but I have an Instagram.
Okay.
Okay. Don't forget,
It'll
we
be in the
have
show notes. So
we we have an Instagram too.
we do. What is it?
The one with 2 photographers.
2. Spelled out though.
Spell it all out.
Remember.
As many characters
Yeah.
as possible.
I think we actually hit the limit. They're like, no more.
We did have to do a different TikTok username
Yeah.
because we had too many characters.
You can
So
find us on all the social medias.
yes. Yeah, we'll put them in the show notes. And then don't forget too, Jacob and I, since we each run our own separate businesses,
yes.
you can find our separate Instagrams as well.
I know. Which one would you choose? Jacob or Don? Spoiler, no matter who you choose, you're probably getting both. So it doesn't matter.
We would love to work with you.
Why we
either
haven't
way.
merged into one
I know.
business, that's for another podcast.
Another day.
All right, we good?
All right, we're good.
All right, we don't know
Okay.
how to end these.
All right,
Bye.
bye.